What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 18 of the Brahma Bullpen. And I don't know if you've been under a rock or where you've been hiding, but there's all kinds of UFL news going on. It's exciting. We got dispersal draft. We got protected players. We got full rosters, folks. We got pre-cut rosters. We know the league's going to wind up cutting down to the 53-man rosters. Right now, the Brahmas have 62 players on the roster. We're going to break it down for you right here. We got 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 4 O-linemen, a center, a guard, 4 tackles, 1 tight end, 9 wide receivers, 5 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles, 11 linebackers, 11 defensive backs, 1 kicker, and 0 punters. That's right. You heard it here first on the bullpen. Coach Wade Phillips is never going to punt the ball. No, I'm just kidding. They're gonna wind up picking up a punter. But what we got going on right now is the first round of players. We got some protected Brahma players that stayed on the roster. We got a lot of people they picked up from Houston. Wade Phillips was comfortable with them, so that's what we picked up. We got about 13 players that we picked up in the dispersal draft, specifically from Houston. So that's pretty crazy. It's like a San Antonio Brahmas / Houston Roughneck team. We got some pretty exciting players coming down from Houston. So we're going to break into those tonight. We're going to look at the UFL news release. We're going to look at some key dispersal draft players. We're going to look at what I think will be key offensive and key defensive players, go over those stats for them tonight. And then we're going to throw in a bonus for a special running back that I think is going to do big things for the Brahmas. Big things for the Brahmas this year. So with all that being said, let's get it rolling. Hey, producer, throw up the UFL graphic there for me. We're just going to cover how this works real quick. So here it is, Friday, January 5th. The United Football League to hold a dispersal draft. Each team will be allowed 42 players, and then they'll be able to select 20. So Coach Wade Phillip picked his 42 players that he wanted to keep, maybe a little bit more, and then he could draft up to 20. But despite what the numbers, 42, 20, whatever, when it was all said and done over the weekend, they were allowed to have 62 players on the roster. We're not going to go over all 62. The rosters are available at theufl.com. Click on the news release. In the news release, there's a link where you can see every roster for every team. The old XFL website, there was a place where you could just click on teams, click on rosters, and boom. But here you got to go to a news release and then read through the news release and find the link in there. So, hey, they'll make it easier as time goes on. But the United Football League, the premier spring football league, will have the draft on the 15th. Players that were not selected over the weekend and on Friday will be able to enter in another round of draft on January 15th. So we'll keep an eye on that stuff. Once we get that information out, we'll see. Ultimately, it's the same thing as last year for both USFL and XFL leagues. 53-man roster going into the league. I think there's a rumor out there that the UFL is going to allow for 1 extra quarterback that's like a non-dress quarterback that can participate in all the practices, not just for the games and be around. So we'll see if that winds up being true. But with that being said, let's look at some of our let's look at what we consider some of the most impactful dispersal draft players. Got the graphic thrown up right there. Just so everybody knows, I'm trying to get into this graphic world as part of the United Football Media. We got a couple of these expert graphic guys. So out here in the cow pasture, we're just trying to keep up. So if my graphics look bad, hey man, whatever. It's literally one of the first graphics I ever made on my own. So I'm trying to leave the cow pasture and become a graphic design podcaster. So y'all stick with me. Maybe over the years they'll get better. But here we go. Most impactful dispersal draft players. Not to toot my own horn, but if you follow me on Twitter, you saw before the dispersal draft, I put out a tweet, got a lot of action. I said, it's not a sexy pick, but what we need is help on the O-line. I saw that the all XFL starting center Alex Mollett was available out of Houston. I I personally called Coach Phil up and said, "Hey man, can we get some O-line help? Get Alex over here." Uh, that's not true, but it'd be cool if it did. Maybe he did see my tweet. I don't know. But so we got Alex Mollett going to make an impact there on the O line. Then we did get the best tight end from the XFL last year. I think we have the best tight end in the UFL with the addition of Cody Latimer. Some people might classify him as a wide receiver. Meh, maybe not. Uh, but he's a big guy. He could definitely go across the middle. He's classified as a tight end. We're gonna be playing that spread offense. So, hey man, we're gonna be playing tight ends as wide receivers and flex them out. And then we got Devontae Beckett, linebacker out of Houston, another one of those Houston players. We'll go over some of those stats later for him. And then Jordan Mosley, a defensive back out of Houston, I think is going to be an impactful dispersal draft player for us. And then we got Bryson Aline, also out of Houston. You can see the trend there. And then Wyatt Ray out of Houston, defensive end. So these who I would consider to be our most impactful dispersal draft players. So keep an eye on them throughout the year. We're going to get into some of their stats when we get into the key offensive players and key defensive players. We'll go ahead and pull those graphics up right now. Let's get into what I would consider to be the most valuable players for our offense and defense this coming season. Obviously, this is based upon stats from last year, projected stats this year, and just my own personal opinion. I don't even know if all these players will even make the roster, but it's highly likely that each one of them makes the roster. So let's start with the offense. First, let's start off with Jack Cohn. I know everybody has issues with Jack. It's, the times that he had protection last year, he did great. 62.2% completion rating is nothing to scoff at. He had 6 touchdowns and 1,471 yards passing in the league. He's going into the spread offense. You're going to see much, much more passing yards. You're going to see a higher rate of pass attempts than what you would have saw in Hines Ward. Last year, Hines Ward ran more of a pro style. Run the ball to throw the ball was kind of the whole setup from day one. This is going to be a spread them out and throw it. Now, there's a couple other quarterbacks. We got 3 quarterbacks on the roster. We got Kurt Benkert and McKay. Kurt Benkert has been very vocal, stating that he's retired from the game of football. He's got that sweet sleeper deal going right now where he's doing like sleeper streams and stuff and doing pick'ems for the NFL. I doubt Benkert comes back. We'll see what's up with McKay. We had TJ Edwards, which was the MVP for the Indoor Football League, but he did not make the 62-man roster. Maybe in the draft later. So right now, logic would tell you Jack Cohn is going to be the starting quarterback. I will remind some of our Brahma Bullpen members that at the start of the season last year, there was some debate on who was going to be the starting quarterback, and we had a jalapeno bet. Someone had to eat a jalapeno, and I didn't because I picked Jack Cohn last year. I think he's going to get the shot this year. I foresee Jack Cohn being our day one starter, and the job's going to be his to lose in this spread offense. So let's go, Jack. The next player we're going to look at is Kellen Balaj. He was kind of our number 2 running back behind Waukese Patrick last year. Waukese Patrick is not back with the team. He's not on the roster. He did sign with an NFL team, so he probably won't be back. The thing about Kellen Balaj is he was like the Thunder, right? Well, they're both of our running backs last year were Thunder, Patrick and Balaj. But this year, we look to see Kellen be used more in short yardage, goal line situations. Watch for him. We'll highlight who I think is going to be the starting running back later. We got some special highlights there. Our speed back, lightning back is what I think we're going to be. And then we got Cody Latimer. He was 3rd in receptions for the entire league last year in the XFL. Obviously, he was the number 1 tight end, 3rd overall. He had 593 yards receiving, and he averaged 11.9 yards per catch. He had 4 touchdowns. Last year, we had Elise Mack. was our primary tight end. He had some injury issues, didn't play every game, but then did well enough to get himself a roster spot with an NFL team practice squad as well. So he won't be back. He is not on the roster. Yeah, man, Cody Lattimore is going to be the man, like going across the middle. He probably won't be a traditional tight end. He might be close to the O lineman, but he'll definitely won't be covered up very much, if you know what I'm saying. And he'll probably be acting like a big slot receiver. That's big slot. Yeah, maybe that's a new term. We'll make a big slot. Then we got TJ Vasher. TJ Vasher was on the team last year. He didn't put up very many impressive stats, but he's a speedy guy, got good hands, lengthy guy. And what we need from him is to see just some improvement from last year. I think if he could take a step forward, become that primary guy for us, or at least a number 2 wideout for us, I think it'll be great. But he's one of the players that I see as needing to take that next step and be one of those offensive MVPs for us. And last but not least, we already kind of talked about Alex Mollett at center. He's going to be making the calls and being the anchor on the O-line. He was all-team XFL last year. He was the number 1 center in the league last year. We want him to be the number 1 center in the league again this year for the UFL, but for the Brahmas this time. Let's go, Alex. We're pulling for you, buddy. We need that O-line help, please, sir. All right. Let's jump over to our defensive MVPs now. Some of these players were with the team last year. Some of these players were not. But when we start talking about the stats and these tackling numbers that we got on our defensive team, there's no doubt in my mind. I've already made it pretty clear to anybody that will listen that I think the Brahmas will have the top defense in the league, maybe number 2 defense in the league. You know, with a spread offense, the ball's going to move quick, and you're either going to score or not score, and it's going to happen fast. And the defense is going to have to be on the field, so you're going to need a lot of depth. And when your defense is on the field a lot, there's going to be ample opportunity for tackles. With that being said, let's start with Jordan Williams. I didn't put him first on the graphic, but you know, the graphic's there. But we're going to start with Jordan Williams. Led the league in tackles, 89 tackles in the league in the XFL last year. Second place was 63 tackles. You can see that Williams was on the field a lot, and he was a key instrumental linebacker in the league, and obviously our number 1 linebacker. Another player that was on our squad last year, Mike Scott. DN, his brother Delonte Scott led our team in sacks. We had the Scott brothers. They were a dynamic duo, so to speak. They were actually probably the fan favorites on defense. Everybody was pretty much watching where the Scott brothers were at every play and see what they were doing. We had another guy by the name of Barku who played corner for us. That was pretty awesome. He's not on the roster this year, but those would probably be our fan favorites behind Williams, Scott, and Barku. And we got Mike Scott back, so that's awesome. He did have 2 sacks last year, and he's going to have a lot of room to grow. He's going to get a lot more playing time, I think, out on the defensive end than what he got because last year his brother took up a lot of those snaps for him. Getting further into our linebacker room, Tavante Beckett from Houston. Let's go. Tavante Beckett was Houston's leading tackler and second in tackles for the entire league last year at 63. Yes, that is correct. Our 2 starting linebackers went 1 and 2 in tackles for the XFL last year, and they're both on the Brahmas team. I challenge anybody to find me 2 better linebackers that are going to be on the field at the same time. You know what? I'm not even going to challenge you. You ain't going to find it. It ain't going to happen. We have the best linebacker room in the league, hands down. No question asked. I cannot wait. To see these 2 guys making tackles, get that 3-4 defense, and have that big nose tackle, eat up a couple blocks, and quarterbacks ain't going to know which one of them's coming. You know what I'm saying? Running backs, be on alert, baby. Let's go. Best linebacker room in the league. All right. And you think we're going to stop there? No, we are not going to stop there. Jordan Mosley, defensive back, also out of Houston. You can see we're getting a lot of Houston players. Coach Wade Phillips came from Houston, so he brought in what he knows. We're going to be running his defense. The learning curve is not going to be that steep because they ran it last year. Jordan Mosley was third in tackles on the Houston's Roughnecks last year. He had 39 tackles, which is a lot for a cornerback. I mean, you're going back in coverage every down. You're going to get, some tackles on wideouts, but hey, man, let's go. Jordan Mosley, another Houston Roughneck coming down here to buff up our defense with a bunch of bulls in the backfield. And then our last one we'll highlight here today is Drew Beasley. He was with the Brahmas last year. He was second on the team in sacks, also plays DN, 5.5 sacks, only behind Delonte Scott, who had 7.5, I believe, is the number from last year. So, yeah, we got strong defensive line. We got strong edges, and we got awesome linebackers. And now what we're going to do is our bonus pick. We're going to do our bonus pick. Throw up the graphic, please, sir. Throw up the graphic of my boy, Bryson Allen. I made this one of my graphics. I just, I'm practicing on graphics. Y'all cut me some slack. I'm not going to lie. This graphic was a template that I stole from somebody. I think you know who I'm talking about there, sir. Thank you very much, by the way. But you can look at his stats here. 43 rushing attempts, 193 yards, 4.5 yards per attempt. He was kind of like an RB2 in Houston behind Borghi, who's now up in the St. Louis Battle Chickens. So I think this is going to be our lightning. This is going to be our lightning to our thunder. I think Balaj and Aline are going to split reps, just like almost every team in every football league is doing. There's very few RB1s anymore. I wouldn't project there to be an RB1 here. I think with this spread offense, Aline's going to be like quick. And why do I say that? Throw up the highlight video.
Race in the backfield by Bryson Aline now. Houston can put the stamp on this one. Aline leads and he's in! Roughnecks have extended their lead. 25 unanswered.
All right. Did you see that? Somersaulting into the end zone, running out of the spread. The dude is fast. I don't know what he runs, but it's probably the mid-fours, right? And that's what you need running out of the spread. You're going to spread them out. You're not going to beat your head up against the wall. What you're going to do is try to run to the edges. And so, yeah, man, that's it. I think our offense is looking stout. We're going to see what happens at the wideout position. Like I mentioned earlier, we got 9 wide receivers on the roster here. Let's just go over them real quick. We got Tisdale, Nick Hawley, Juan Carlos Santana, Justin Smith, Calvin Turner, TJ Vassar, Jordan Beasley, Cade Warner, son of Kurt Warner. There's some pretty good stock right there. And CJ Wyndham. CJ Wyndham is one of those guys. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience right now, but I could see him easily becoming our wide receiver number 1. And we'll highlight him a little bit more later on down the road. Stay on the lookout for the January 15th draft. We're going to see where these rosters get lined up, get the cuts going. One of the big things the XFL did send out, UFL did send out season ticket holder updates this past week, stating that there will be schedules out in the next couple of weeks. So I do think that they heard some of the fans and they've realized that people need to plan. So stay on the lookout for UFL schedules. We'll cover schedules whenever they do come out, and we'll pick another offensive and defensive group of players to highlight. And as always, thank you for watching. We love being part of the United Football Media Group. Like, share, subscribe. Let's go Brahmas, baby. Horns forward. Alex Mollett, don't let me down. Key offensive, what I would consider offensive MVPs for San Antonio Brahmas. So here we go. We got Mike This is your fault, Dustin. You're going to have to edit this out because you won't leave me alone. Hey, I'm trying to record, so you got to edit a bunch of video because you won't leave me alone. What do you want? Yeah, when I ignore you the first time, there's a reason. But what do you want? You're gonna have to edit all this out.
Backed up my phone to where it was Sunday, the last time it did a full backup. So the stuff you're saying, you'll just have to resend it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Do I need your permission? Okay. Don't be so needy. Don't be so needy. I'll call you back when I'm ready. I don't know. I got a whole bunch of messages like stuff from you. I tried to well, that's what it was. I ignored your message and I ignored your phone call, and then my phone sent me another alert. So here we are. Are you done? All right. The more you talk, the more editing you have to do.